Baltimore County up through Middle River, Maryland, where I'm aware just now that there is some damage to a mobile home park near Middle River. And we have another team that's up into north central Maryland, Carroll County, up in that area. And then we've got a fourth team that went west, Loudoun County, and also to the eastern panhandle of West Virginia near Inwood. So it appears that we've had at least 2 or 3 several long track tornadoes across the region today, or last night. And first of all, I just want to mention the fact that there was injuries here in the city of Gaithersburg. I want to acknowledge that, and I want to thank all the first responders and people who are cleaning up the damage last night as well as today. It's quite an extensive bit of work, as you can see. So as of right now, from my assessment, and this is all preliminary, we're going to try to get out a notification to the media by 6 p.m. news tonight, where it will be finalized, our preliminary assessment. But I'm seeing winds up to 105 miles per hour in this area, and evidence of a lot of spotty damage. So what happens a lot is these tornadoes will skip through, they'll touch down briefly, they'll pick back up, they'll go 4 or 5 miles, drop down again, and do damage. So the good news is from the best of my knowledge, we've had only 5 injuries, and all 5 of those are very important, of course. But it could have been a lot worse with winds of 105 miles per hour. So with that, I want to turn this over to Chris Burt, Senior Emergency Manager with Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services, and I'll be able to take questions after Mr. Burt is completed.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Burt, Bravo, Ulysses, Robert, Tango. I'm the Senior Emergency Manager for Mass Care Operations for the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services. I'm here to give you a preliminary update on the mass care efforts from the Department of Health and Human Services for Montgomery County. Right now we're looking at preliminary roughly 5 to 6 homes that have been impacted by this event. Also with that we have reported 5 hospitalizations or 5 residents transported to the hospital. Their status is unknown at this time, but they were transported. On scene right now, we have our partners with the American Red Cross that are doing initial damage assessments in the neighborhood. They're walking throughout the neighborhood to see who is home, what residents are home, and if they're in need of assistance. They have an emergency response vehicle on scene. They also have a disaster trailer filled with supplies that can with cleanup supplies that can be provided to up to 50 families at this point right now, but more can be given as requested and or needed. That's all I have for right now.
When you say impacted, does that mean a tree hit the home? Does it mean damage to the home? What do you mean?
Correct. The impact could be whether a tree impact on the home, the tree has fallen on the home, what have you, and they were inside obviously, and they were hurt.
How many families have been impacted from this last night storm damage?
I'm sorry?
How many families have been?
So if we're looking at roughly 5, half a dozen families, we really can't make that judgment because we don't know the home compositions at this present time, who's inside the homes. But we can count on, at minimum, five families impacted right now.
So are you able to speak at all about the alert system? There were some people who were saying that they didn't get alerts. Did Montgomery County send alerts out?
No, ma'am. I mean, I got alerts, so I really can't speak to those who said they may or may not have gotten it. Several of people that I know have gotten alerts throughout the county.
Do you think the system did work and alerted?
Yes.
I don't know if this question for either one of you, but how rare is an outbreak of a tornado of this magnitude here?
So it is okay. It's very rare to have this many at one time. I remember when I first came on board, we had the remnants of Hurricane Ivan come through in 2004, and we certainly had that many and even stronger tornadoes. So I've been the meteorologist in charge here for about 20 years. I would think this is probably one of the top 2 or 3 events from a tornado standpoint that I've experienced here.
And
To address the question too about the wireless, the emergency alerts, I have interviewed a couple people now who have gotten confirmation that they received the wireless emergency alerts on their phones before the tornado struck. So the way it works is that the National Weather Service in Sterling, we issue the warning, and then it goes out to the broadcast community, and then also a system is set up where phones are alerted, and people have to opt out of that. And again, I strongly encourage people to check their phones and make sure that they do have their wireless emergency alerts on for weather.
How rare is it to have these long tornadoes that we're talking about? I mean, to look at how massive that is, it wasn't just a little funnel cloud. I mean, this thing's massive.
Yes, when I say long track, the way of the science works here is that you'll spin up a tornado, and it will start, and it will just continue to progress. In this case, it started in Leesburg, outside Leesburg, Virginia, and made its way all the way up to northeast of the city of Baltimore. Now, there's not continuous damage along that whole track, but it just will pop down, do some damage, pop back up, and just continue on for a couple hours like it did.
And when we saw the video coming in out of Poolsville, we saw there was a large wedge tornado coming through. So when it made its way over here and it weakened, but I mean, that's something that you see in the Midwest or the plains.
Yes, you know, the range of tornadoes we're talking about in this event looks to be either EF0 or EF1. Certainly, that's considered minor on that Fujita enhanced scale, which goes from EF0 to EF5. So again, EF0 and EF1s are considered minor, and I don't want to denigrate any type of damage and injuries that were done, because if a minor tornado does hit, it does have a serious impact.
So you anticipate it could go up to EF2 or?
We'll have to see. I'm a little bit doubtful of that, but again, being in the profession for so long, you just have to wait and keep your open mind and just see what's coming in from the field, like we're doing right now with the 4 teams that are across the region.
Yeah,
Yes.
when you had seen 2 or 3 tornadoes hit, is that, do you not have enough data to determine whether it was 2 or 3, or is that something that it's difficult to specify?
Well, what happens is that we have policy in the Weather Service that we can determine if it's one tornado, which lasts for a long amount of time on the ground, or if it pops up and doesn't do damage, but is still a funnel cloud, and it might go 4 or 5 miles and go back down, that might be considered 2 tornadoes. But we know that the one that went through Poolsville to Gaithersburg to Columbia, which is where I'm headed next, up into Middle River, that was one supercell that did intermittent damage from Leesburg all the way up to Middle River, Maryland, northeast of the city of Baltimore.
Do you have an estimate on the mileage of that?
I don't off the top of my head, but we'll have all that information in the public information statement that we'll be releasing this evening.
When was the last time you've seen an EF1 or EF0, and is this a sign of things to come? Is this a change?
No, actually in our area we average about 10 to 15 EF0 or EF1 tornadoes a year. So we have not seen an uptick in tornadoes in our region looking at the past 20 years of record.
It seems like a lot of times they pop up in Charles County coming off of Potomac, but even in this region of Montgomery County, Loudon, you would say?
Oh yes, yeah, this whole region, this time of year from essentially April 15th to July 15th is our peak convective season. And we just have to be alert for the wind patterns and be on top of things from a radar so that we can issue the warnings and get the words out to the public so they can take action. One thing that I do also want to talk about is action. What people should do when they hear a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning. You want to get inside to a sturdy building. That's very, very important. Inside room, preferably a basement. And that's where you ditch for a while until you feel that it's safe. But don't be outside. An automobile can be dangerous as well. It will protect you from lightning, but it will not protect you from getting rolled over if a bad tornado hits you. And I can give you an example. 2 weeks ago in Nelson County, Virginia, which is just south of Charlottesville, a man perished who was fishing on the James River. He heard our warning and got inside of a car And from a lightning perspective, he's protected inside of an automobile, but he's not protected from big limbs falling. And that's exactly what happened, and unfortunately we lost a life. So I can't reiterate enough. From the bottom of my heart, I'm a Washingtonian, native Washingtonian, actually a 5th generation Washingtonian. Get inside a building. When you start hearing thunder, go indoors. You want to be protected yourself.
Sir, when you talk about 105 miles per hour wind,
Yes.
how do you describe that? How do people wrap their mind around? Can you equate that to anything that people can relate to? That kind of force?
Nothing comes to mind right now. All I know is it is destructive. It will rip up trees. It will rip siding off. It will blow out windows and garages. It will snap trees. Right here over across the street of 355, I actually saw 2 trees that were snapped, and they actually fell into one another. So again, that's indicative of a tornado. We're looking for things that are maybe not straight line winds where everything's falling in the one direction, but right across the street, there are 2 trees that are about, I'd say 30 yards away from each other, and they both were snapped and they fell toward one another.
Are you seeing mostly tree damage or
Mostly
any
tree damage.
No roofs coming up, indicative to a stronger potential.
Well, actually, if a tree is snapped, it's a stronger wind than if it's uprooted. So I'm seeing both.
And can you talk about how typical it is with tornadoes to really just have damage in specific areas versus widespread, but where you have the damage, man, you've got the damage.
Could you repeat your question?
Yeah, so how typical of it is it with tornadoes to have damage in specific areas, whether it's along the path, because you drive through part of
Right.
Gaither,
Nothing.
and
Right.
then you go through the area.
No, that's pretty typical in tornadoes. I surveyed an EF2 tornado in Fredericksburg, Virginia, about 10 years ago, and there were houses that were down on their foundations, and the houses 2 doors down were not harmed at all. So it's really, there's an aspect of, chance that's in it, but that's why everyone, once you get that warning, you need to go inside, preferably to an interior room, preferably in a basement, and protect yourself.
I know you talked about safety a little bit already, but in the age of social media that we're living in, everyone kind of wants that video and all that. Can you reiterate how important it is to not be a storm chaser if you are not trained to be one, and how important it is to stay safe with?
Yeah, I mean, I can't recommend enough, and I'll just continue to say it. If you know a storm is approaching, get inside. Okay, that video is not worth taking that video because the debris gets caught up into the funnel, and it will, just stay resident until it, gravity takes over, and it could be falling from the sky. So you could have, sheets of plywood, 2x4s, whatever, hit you. And while you may not actually see a tornado on the ground next to you, there's fallout from where it maybe it hit, 3 minutes before.
Have you gotten any reports of fallout, like how far any debris may have gone in this
We have
area?
not.
And what's next for you? You said you have another report coming around 6 o'clock. So what between now and then are you and your team going to be doing?
Yeah, so we got the 4 teams out right now. We're all planning on getting back to the main forecast office in Sterling, Virginia, which is directly adjacent to Dulles Airport. And what we'll do is we'll lay it all out, put the data together, compare it to our radar analysis, and then we'll start putting out public information statements that will actually classify these tornadoes. In the meantime, we also have a threat of weather this afternoon. So, this is typical. The weather happens all the time. This is our peak convective season. We're very busy at the National Weather Service here in Sterling, Virginia.
When was the last time you remember having this many tornado reports in a day?
I would say it was Ivan back in, I believe the year was 2004.
Hurricane.
Yeah, very often we'll get, there was also in 2011, the April 2011 breakout. So that was, but those were also larger tornadoes. That was also tropical sourced. So, from a non-tropical situation, this is a little bit unique.
And then people were describing, they said, some people said they heard a noise, they thought it was a tornado, and then other people were describing they heard a transformer. I mean, can you describe what that was, or, what maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends upon where you're at. Certainly, the wind going through trees, if you ever gone through a hike in a forest or something like that, you'll hear the wind whistling through the trees. Well, the only difference is that the wind is not whistling, it's roaring through trees at 105 miles per hour. And transformer pops and things like that are very common. in these type of winds.
So essentially, this whole area was incredibly lucky.
Again, I don't want to say lucky, but because people have damage to their homes, they're having to pay out insurance and all that. But to have perhaps 10 to 15 tornadoes and 5 injuries, that is fortunate. We'll just put it that way. We want to minimize loss of life and loss of property. That's the mission of the National Weather Service, and that's why we're here to serve the community.
10 to 15?
What's that?
You said 10 to 15?
That's an estimate. Again, wait until this afternoon, and we'll put it all out in a nice format. Our website is weather.gov/Washington. Amtrak.
Your 10 to 15 includes the West Virginia,
Yes.
Baltimore
Yeah.
area.
Yes.
Yeah, for those of us who are not meteorologists or what have you, is it fair or safe to say when you talk about this starting in Leesburg and all that, is this part of one system?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
but multiple tornadoes happening within the course of one system in Leesburg and going all the way into Baltimore County, Middle River.
Yes.
Okay.
It's called a convective complex.
Okay.
And these things happen, cluster of thunderstorms, and the wind was just right with just the right amount of instability to cause these storms last night. All right,
Thank
just
you.
a couple more
Appreciate
questions if you have.
Can we talk to you again?
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Can you say and spell your name one more time? I know we got yours.
It's James Lee, Lee.
That's easy.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Burke, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm not sure. Can you-
Just call me Bert. It's
Okay,
easy.
all right.
Easy to remember.
All right.
Too many Chris's in the world.
When's the last time that you remember something like this, these tornadoes, this many coming across Montgomery County?
I've been in the area for 12 years, and I don't think I've seen anything like it since I've been here. Have I seen it in other parts of the area in my careers? Yes. But in this area, no, I have not seen it, honestly.
What's like the worst and most damage that you've seen, and what area around here would you describe?
Probably around the Holly Drive or the Pinoy Drive area, where there's a tree that has fallen on top of the homes. We have 2 trees, 2 homes impacted in that manner, in that physical damage manner.
And can you clarify, the 5 people sent to the hospital, were they all in the same home or multiple homes?
I can't comment on that I don't know. And if I could say one more thing, with Mr. Lee's assessment as far as the weather time frames that we're in, or the times that we're in, this is the perfect time to be prepared in the event for other pending weather systems coming through. Have a go bag. Have a plan in place. Have a communications plan in place. Just be prepared. Be adequately insured. While to Mr. Lee's point, we never want to see a loss of life or property, but I think as residents, if we take more of a proactive stance in these events as they come, the impact should be less or not as unfortunate as it may be right now.
Forgive me for asking this. I'm late. But somebody from the county I heard yesterday say you expected injuries today from debris and that sort of thing. Have you had any reports of that? I apologize.
As of what we know, preliminary reports, we've been told that there's been 5 transports to the hospital.
I mean, not from the tornado.
You mean from the cleanup
Yeah,
people
from the
walking
cleanup.
around?
Someone from the county
That
said.
As far as I know, no. There's a lot of restoration crews on scene. A lot of residents are being proactive in their cleanup. So everybody is pulling together, and there doesn't seem to be any injuries to my knowledge.
Any power outages still? Or?
Pepco is on scene right now, so they would definitely be the folks that you need to talk to. But from what I see, people still have power. But I would follow up with Pepco.
How about cell towers, cell service? It's horrendous in this area, and it usually isn't this bad. Do you know if any of those communication towers were impacted in the storm at all?
I'll leave that to Mr. Lee. He might be able to tell you, but to my knowledge, no.
You're not having any issues with
No,
your
ma'am.
cell
No, ma'am.
phone?
We're not receiving a cease in reception.
Oh,
I'm able to
You
send
must not-
data back to the office for time. So.
Okay. Can
I
you
need to
just-
take off for a minute.
Okay.
For if you have any quick questions,
Yeah,
I can take them over here.
I-
But I really need to get to Howard County. Thank
Oh,
you very
just
much.
get one quick question.